Good afternoon. My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. Today, we're going to start using either a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball, a fascia ball, or even a pickleball. And this will work on the bottom of your foot. And we're going to do adventures in cinematography for Zoom, because I'm going to pull the camera off the tripod and hopefully you won't get seasick. But to start, I'll ask you to just stand up and find a place near a wall. And I will grab this. I'm coming over to this wall here. Let me switch the camera. Okay, now use the wall to make sure that you can stay vertical. First, can you turn that all the way down?
Why don't I just turn it on? I have turned it on.
Okay, so anyway, here we have your ball. And the first thing that I'd like you to do is just lift the ball of your foot and then place it over the top of the ball and put quite a bit of pressure. If you can look at my foot here, as I push down, you can see the blood rushing away from that joint between the first toe segment and my metatarsal. You want to get some pressure. It doesn't have to be a great deal, but initially I'd like you to try to find any trigger points. And a trigger point is a place that has a lot of sensation, so much so that you will wince. And hopefully you don't have any, but you can do that by rolling the ball along the bottom of your foot, just very slowly. And if you have that trigger point, just pause there. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and let it out through your nose. And that will soften your reflexes so that you can tolerate this a little bit more. And in just a few seconds, the fascia and the muscles will begin to soften. Then when you're ready, just take the ball back towards the upper middle part of your feet, your foot, just below the pads on your foot. And then press down fairly hard. That will flatten out your foot. And again, if you're looking at the screen, you can see how wide my foot has gotten. Normally, you can see the tendons in the top like that. But if you push down hard, you're stretching your whole foot. And try to curl your toes around that ball. And then slowly begin to rock that ball back and forth, going from the pad underneath the big toe to the pad on your little toe. And then slowly begin to move the ball down towards your heel. But just before you get to your heel bone, that's in the front of your heel is where the fascia connects into your heel bone. And then put quite a bit of weight on that, using the wall to keep you upright. And then maybe move a little bit from left to right. Now, if you've had any toe injuries, like a really bad strain from when you weren't paying attention in down dog and you were asked to step through into a lunge and you'd stubbed your toe, I've done that way more often than I ever should have. But the last time I really did it bad was about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And this exercise that we're doing right now has finally begun to relieve the pain. And then from here, just loosen up and then run that ball all the way underneath your foot. You can do it really fast or really slow. What you're doing is you're massaging that entire plantar fascia. And then come to a stop, take your foot off, go to the other foot, and look at the top of your foot. And as you put the ball just underneath the ball of your left big toe, maybe widen your
You probably
toes
have one in
wide.
your thing, don't you?
Pardon?
Mhm.
And then begin
It's
to
not one in
bring
your bag?
pressure.
Okay, well, you're just gonna get ready, right?
And then slowly roll your foot from left to right. And then move your foot, move the ball underneath the center of your foot, all the way down to just in front of your left heel. And again, if you find a trigger point, don't shy away from it. Go right to it, but ease up on the pressure. And then when you're ready, take that deep cleansing breath just to relax. And then rock that foot a little bit from left to right to get the pressure of the ball rolling all the way across the bottom of your foot. This may be the leg or the foot that feels better than the other, or it could be the more challenging foot. And then begin to just run your foot forwards and backwards, left and right, and massage the entire bottom of your foot. And then we have one more thing to do here. You can set that ball aside and find a corner, an outside corner of a wall, like this one in front of me. This is going to look pretty medieval, but it really helps. From here, your toes are designed to fold down 90 degrees and come up 90 degrees. And each toe can do that independently. So bring your foot towards the corner of that wall, lift up your toes, keep your big toe outside of the corner, like I'm doing here, and then slowly bring the balls of your feet down onto the floor. So this looks like it hurts a lot, but it's actually quite comfortable. Well, maybe that's an over-exaggeration. But what this is doing, this is creating more space for your feet to work. You want to stay here for 30 seconds to a minute. And then just lift your foot back up, relieving that pressure. Step down on your toes. Come to the other side of the wall. This time, just put your big toe up towards the top of the baseboard. And then slowly bring your weight into it so that your toes come down to the floor and your big toe is hung up. This looks pretty prehistoric, or something that the Spanish were doing in the 1400s. But this pose here, this exercise of moving my big toe has made my stub toe go away. I still have to do this over time, sometimes every time before I get a strong walk. You can relieve that foot, bring your other foot to the corner. Bring your toes up the wall, and the order doesn't really matter. And then just begin to slide your toes down. And the first few times might not come very far, but that's okay. You're learning how to do this. But remember that pain of any kind is bad, but sensation is good. And I can tell you right now, on my foot, this is not uncomfortable. It just isn't. I don't think I'd voluntarily put my foot in this position while I'm watching television, but it's really doing a number on each of my toes. And then release. Come back up. Go to the other side of the wall. And again, whenever we do these on multiple legs, this is when I'm always happy that I'm not a spider. And then slowly, with your big toe against the wall, and you might have to adjust your foot so that it works in this location. Slowly bring the weight down into the ball of your right foot, your left foot, trying to bring that ball down to the floor. And if you don't get there immediately, that's fine. Your toes might have years and years of inactivity. So this might be a real challenge. But over the course of 4 or 5 or 6 attempts, you'll begin to get your foot down. Take a couple more breaths. And then deepen your breath. Come back up. And come back to your mat. Lifting up your toes. Maybe walking a little bit on your heels. Your feet feel different. I certainly hope so. So, come down onto your hands and knees. And bring your knees out wide, coming into a child's pose. We're not going to be here for a full meditation, but put your toenails down on the mat. Bring your hips back on top of your feet, on top of your heels. And then walk your hands forward, coming into child's pose. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and exhale out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath into your nose. Exhale out through your nose. And let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Notice your feet. Can you feel any difference in your toes? Maybe try spreading your toes in this position. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your chest. Push your hands into the mat and come up into table. Do a couple of cat-cows. And breathing in and out through your nose as you come into cow. Breathing in. And exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under, your chin comes towards your chest. And then on an inhale, your belly drops, chest comes forward. Sit bones lift and separate. And then again, back into cat. The first pose that we're going to do today is one of my favorites for either a hatha or a yin class, and it's called spinal balance. So for spinal balance, lift your right foot up and back, push your right heel away, trying to reach the far wall. This is a yan pose, meaning that it's a strength builder. This is really one of the best core builders out there. And then from here, you can raise that left hand up and reach forward, really reach far, and then draw your humerus, your upper arm bone, into your shoulder. Try to get that right foot up roughly parallel to the floor. You can even look back and see if that's where you are. You can feel the core strength that this takes. And again, you can come out of this whenever you need to. But on your next exhale, try to do a crunch with your left elbow to your right knee underneath your chest. Inhale, extend out. Exhale, crunch. Inhale out. Exhale, crunch. Inhale out. And pause here for just a moment. And the part of this pose that I like the most is awkward airplane. So for awkward airplane, on an exhale, your left hand comes out to the left and your right leg goes out to the right, still parallel to the floor. Inhale, extend back out. Exhale, out to the sides. Inhale, straight. Exhale out to the side. Pause there. Lower that right foot down. Left hand comes to your mat. Walk your hands up. So your right leg is out to the side. Your feet are pointed forward. Your right foot is pointed forward. And just lift your chest high. Lift the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Your right arm can be out on your right leg. And then on an inhale, raise that left arm up overhead, reaching for the sky. And then this pose will be a right side bend. So don't push your butt out. That would make this into a twist. But on an inhale, reach up, and exhale, side bend to the right, keeping that left bicep next to your left ear. If you really have an urge to bring that left shoulder forwards, just bring that left arm behind your back. You're going to be doing another pose that will give you a twist. So the side bend is just giving your spine its own pose here. And on your next inhale, rise back up. Bring your hands to the mat. Right knee comes to meet the right, left. Do a couple of cat-cows here. This should feel pretty good on your hips and on your shoulders. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, walk your hands and knees off to the left side of the mat. And then lower your right hip down onto the mat. Look towards the front of your mat. And you're going to come into spinal twist on your chest. So you can use the towel underneath your chest, underneath your collarbones. If that makes sense, you can use a block. But walk your hands forward, coming down onto your chest. Your arms will eventually come out into T. If your neck allows, you can gaze off over your right shoulder towards your right fingers. If not, you can gaze towards your left or just with your chin on the mat. Feel this in your hips. Feel this in your obliques, those muscles on the inside, lower part of your abdomen. Breathe into that left shoulder. Maybe you can let that shoulder just soften all the way down towards the mat. This pose is mainly for your spine, your lumbar spine, where you get most of your twist, and then your thoracic spine, where all your ribs are attached. And if your neck allows you to look over towards your right, you're getting a twist with your cervical spine. And it's all good. Maybe you can tell that this is more challenging than doing a spinal twist on your back. It's the same twist, just with gravity, working on your body in a different direction. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your chest, lifting your chest up a bit. Listen carefully. From here, you're going to come into a seated position, so just bring your feet around towards the front of the mat. Then come down onto your elbows, bend your knees, and maybe do a little bit of windshield wiper. Make sure you have a block handy. The next time you come to center, pause. Come all the way down onto your back. Grab that block. And then walk your feet closer to your sit bones. The next pose is reclining swan. So you'll use the block the flat way, and then the length of the block will be from left to right. So to begin here, bring it with your hands next to your hips, tuck your tailbone under, bringing the small of your back engaged to the mat. And then inhale, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, come back down. Grab your block. Inhale, lift your hips back up. And then insert that block underneath your sacrum. And slowly come down onto it with your sacrum. Pause here for a moment. And then lift your right leg up, placing your footprint on the ceiling. Really push that foot away. And then bending that right knee, bring the right ankle over the top of your left thigh. And when you're ready, just lift that left foot up, draw your left knee in towards your chest, reach between your legs with your right hand, and maybe you can make a bind behind your left thigh. Maybe you can make a bind in front of your left shin. In this pose, this swan pose, you should be feeling this in your right hip socket and also your right glutes. And you have lots and lots of options here. You can push that right thigh away, and that will intensify the glute on the outside. You can bring that right knee over towards the left, maybe even into what looks like a shoelace pose. And what that does, it engages your glutes towards the inside of your thighs. You can always reach around with your right hand and notice which muscles, which of your glutes are being stressed. Whatever feels good to you is where you want to be. There's no set pose that you have to match, where your body is supposed to match a 20-something-year-old. They don't have the history that you do. They don't have the same needs that you do. So find the most important place in your in your glutes to put pressure on. Another option, you could even move that right foot right on top of that left thigh, so your right knee is way out. Keeping that foot flexed, maybe then you can push that right thigh and knee towards the front of the room. And that might intensify this pose significantly. Using the block allows you the luxury of not having to grip real hard on your legs to keep in this position. That's why you can reach around and feel what's going on the outside, so that your brain can match it up to what's happening on the inside. Make a note of what worked best for you today and on this side, and maybe you'll want to try it on the other. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your bind, bringing your left foot down towards the floor. As you release your right leg, reach that foot up towards the ceiling and really stretch. Really make that hamstring feel really good. And then bend that knee, bringing your foot down next to your left. Lift your hips up, remove the block, come back down. Draw your knees into your chest and rock from left to right. And then the next time you come over to the right, just pause there for just a second. Use your left hand to push the floor away. Rise up into a seated position with your legs coming towards the front of the room. The next pose is caterpillar. So if you want to use a block underneath your sit bones to tilt your pelvis forward, that would be a good idea if it works for you. Inhale your chest tall, the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Look at your feet. Your feet can be together or hip width apart. Spread your toes. Maybe squeeze your toes together like you're gripping something. Opening them up. Inhale, tall, big. And then on an exhale, slowly walk your hands out towards the front of the mat. Coming to that first bit of resistance and pausing. You can release your spine so it rounds here right away. The target of caterpillar are your hamstrings or your back, your spine. And you can alternate that. Whatever works best. You can also experiment by pointing your toes, noticing what that does to your hamstrings, or flexing your feet. Listen carefully. On your next inhale, come up about halfway. Push your collarbones forward any bit that you can, and exhale and come down. Let your spine round, maybe moving the person behind you. That will move your hips farther forward, the tops of your hips. And your sit bones will go back. Your thighs will be drawn farther towards the back of the mat, and your forward fold will be accentuated. Resist any urge to pull on your legs. Let gravity do all the work. By yielding to gravity, letting your muscles soften, that's when the tension goes from your muscles into your fascia. And you give each pose some time to work to stress your fascia, put a little bit of tension into them. And that tension in your fascia will stimulate more growth, will elongate your fascia, give you more space inside your body to move. That results in flexibility and mobility. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, start walking your hands back. If you're on a block, carefully remove it. Bring your hands behind your hips, bend your knees, bring your footprints onto the mat, and then gently windshield wiper your knees from left to right. And notice with each successive movement, your hips, are they opening up a little bit more? Maybe they're seizing up a little bit because of overstimulation. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, just sit upright. And then coming around into table pose, come onto one hip or the other. Swing your feet around behind. Coming into table. And do a couple of cat-cows here. Next time you come to center, pause. From here, lift your left foot up and step on the back wall. We're coming into spinal balance on the left. Try to keep that foot up, roughly parallel to the floor, your hips just level with the turf. Then on an inhale, lift that right arm up like you're about to shake hands. And breathe here for a few moments. Let your breath tell you if you need to take a break. And then on your next exhale, if it's within your practice, crunch your right elbow to your left knee underneath your chest. Inhale back out. Exhale, crunch. Inhale out. Exhale, crunch. Inhale back out. Pause here for just a moment. And then awkward airplane. Right arm out to the right, left foot out to the left. Inhale back to center. Exhale out. Inhale back to center. Exhale back out. From here, lower that left foot. Right hand comes down to the mat. Walk your hands back up. Coming up on one knee. Your left leg is out to the left in gate pose. Left hand is on your left knee. Inhale the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Then bring that right arm all the way up. Your left toe should be pointed forward. And then on an exhale, begin to side bend to the left. You may have to breathe into your diaphragm to move organs outside your rib cage so that you can be a little bit more comfortable. Try keeping that right bicep next to your right ear. About 3 more breaths. On the next inhale, rise back up. Bring your arms down onto the mat. Coming into table, left foot comes back. Do a couple of cat-cows here. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, walk your hands and knees over towards the right side of your mat, getting ready to come into a chest down spinal twist on your left hip. So lower your left hip down. Grab any toys that you might need to support your chest or your head. Turn your chest towards the front of the mat. Walk your hands forward. Coming down towards the mat. Bring your arms out into T. Maybe this side is different and you can gaze off towards the left without any difficulty. Each side is different. You can use a block or that toe to reduce or eliminate any pressure on your breasts. And from here, soften your glutes. Soften your thighs. Soften your side body, your obliques, and your quadratus, which are the equivalent to your obliques but on your back body. Let gravity draw that right shoulder down. But feel the opening of that shoulder socket with your arm in full extension. Soften your jaw. Soften your eyes and the muscles behind your eyes and your temples. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your chest. Push the floor away, raising your chest up. And again, this time we're going to bring the legs out towards the front of the mat. Scooch forward a little bit, come down onto your elbows. Make sure you have a block handy. But from here, maybe you want to do another windshield wiper, if that works. If you want something more robust, you can do a yoga bicycle. And then when you're ready, come all the way down onto your back. With your hands next to your hips, tuck your tailbone under, lift your hips up towards the ceiling, into a bridge. And then slowly lower down. Grab your block. This is the same as the other side. So on an inhale, lift your hips up. Tuck that block in underneath your sacrum. Gently come down. Walk your feet a little bit closer to your sit bones. Lift your left foot up and step on the ceiling. Really push that left heel away. Feel your left hamstring and your calf. And then bend that left knee, bringing the ankle over the right thigh. Coming into reclining swan. So from here, when you're ready, just lift that right knee up, drawing that knee into your chest. You can make a bind behind your right thigh or in front of that right shin, or if you need to use a strap or towel to lengthen your arms, like that. Using toys to make this a little bit easier or simpler on your body is the mark of a smart yogi. Now again, like on the other side, the target of this pose is your left hip socket and your left glutes. Notice where you're feeling this. And if you're not feeling this in your glutes, maybe you want to draw your knees closer into your chest, or maybe adjusting where your ankle sits on top of your thigh. If you move that ankle up closer to your hip crease, you'll intensify the pose. You'll feel this more in your glute, and it will come down farther on your thigh, on the back of your thigh. It really doesn't matter the exact location that you're feeling this, because your glutes are really hard to discriminate one part from the other. Only you can tell what you're stretching and what feels good. If you had to match a body position, there's no telling what you'd feel. You might be in agony, or you might feel nothing at all. And what good would that practice be? And remember, you can always change the pose to suit you at this moment. Try softening your thighs. And your core. Try softening your lower back. Soften your glutes. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your bind. Let your right foot come down to the mat. Bring your hands next to your hips. Release your left foot up towards the ceiling and really stretch. Maybe you can feel this all the way to your glutes. Then bend the knee. Bring your foot down. Lift your hips up, remove the block. Lower your hips down. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze and rock from left to right. Try pushing your hips towards the front of the mat. And push your shoulders towards the top of the mat. And then roll all the way from hip and shoulder on one side to the other. The next time you come to center pause, lower your feet down close to your sit bones. Bring your hands back down. Find your block again. And do 2 quick bridges. So on an inhale, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And exhale, lower them back down. One more up. And then back down. This time, grab your block and place the block underneath your sacrum the highest way you feel comfortable. This has 3 different heights, and you don't even need to use it. So that gives you 4 options. And on your next inhale, lift your hips up, place the block underneath your sacrum, and remember, you can always change it. And then carefully lower down. And once you're stable, walk your feet out towards the front of the mat. Your soles can remain on the mat, or if you're adventurous, come up onto your heels with your toes up towards the ceiling. Just let your feet fall and feel the stretch on your thighs, your inner thighs, your lower abdomen, coming all the way up through your abdomen up to your chest. If you'd like a little bit more stretch, maybe raise your arms up towards the ceiling and then reach those arms towards the wall beyond your head and find some place that will support your arms on the floor or on the block. Just don't let any part of you be up in the air dangling. Feel the stretch on your entire front body. If you're curious about your toes and how much they play in your body, how much comfort they play, straighten your toes right now and then release. Notice how far they affect, all the way up to your armpits. That's why bringing good health to your feet is so important. Begin to deepen your breath. When you're ready, bring your arms back to the front side of your body and rest them next to your hips. On an inhale, walk your feet up towards your sit bones. And then on an inhale, lift your hips up, remove the block, set it aside, and gently come back down to earth. Draw your knees into your chest. Begin to rock a little bit in one direction or the other. Maybe make circles with your hips. And then the other direction. And the next time you come to center pause, from here, you can release your legs to the front of the mat, coming into a regular shavasana. You can bend your knees and bring your knees out into butterfly legs. Or you can make this into a psoas release with your knees bent toward each other and your feet out wide. Bring your hands, palms vertical, into a comfortable position. Find a good place for your pelvis and your sacrum and the back of your head. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and let it all out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath in through your nose, out through your nose, keeping in touch with your parasympathetic nervous system, which is urging your body to just relax. Accept everything that you learned and your body learned in today's class. Begin to deepen your breath. bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists, and to your ankles. Gently roll your head from one side to the other. And when you're ready, walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And rock from left to right, massaging your spine and your back muscles. And then come all the way over onto your right side and pause here for a moment, using your right arm as a pillow. And the reason I bring you over to your right side in order to come up, your descending colon and your heart are on the left side of your chest. And coming up from your right side is just a little bit easier on those organs. And then use your left hand to push the floor away, coming up into a seated position. Thank you for sharing your yoga practice with me this afternoon. It gives me great joy to see each of you in this class improving your health through the practice of yoga. Take the kindness and the compassion and empathy that you practice here on your mat. Take that with you wherever you go and share it with everyone you meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and you may unmute yourself if you'd like.